Ever since the beginning of man's existence, the environment has largely determined the fate of our food supply. So imagine a world where our food supply could come from the most extreme environments, such as a desert. As the population grows, we must produce more food. But as the climate changes and urban expansion happens, we must find more efficient ways to produce more food. With the ability to synthesize genomes, we will be able to produce more food using fewer natural resources. This will allow us to preserve our environment while feeding a growing number of people.
If we look at the cost of synthesizing genomes and how large that was during the Human Genome Project to what it is now, we can hope that someday we'll be able to synthesize genomes for about the same cost of sequencing a genome right now. And hopefully it goes down about the same rate that sequencing a whole genome does. Currently, the cost of synthesizing genomes makes it to where it's not financially feasible to synthesize a whole genome for a commercial crop that would have the macro traits from another crop. Now, how we could use this technology is to take the genes that are required for a taproot and alfalfa and move those over to a grass cereal crop to make it more drought tolerant in dry areas.
When the Human Genome Project ended, the cost of sequencing a single genome was drastically decreased. In 2003, the cost to sequence a genome was less than $1,000. From the new understandings and methods for mapping a genome sequence, a team of scientists assembled in New York to discuss some very big ideas. This group of scientists are trying to push for an international project called the Genome Project, right? Their goal is to reduce the cost and also build genomes of plants, animals, and possibly in the future humans. Right now, to synthesize a human genome, we would have to write out 3 billion letters, and the cost of sequencing that would be around $30 million. But to do this in 2003, it would cost around $12 billion. Supposedly, in 20 years, that price should drop to about $100,000. They plan on reducing the cost of building a genome by 1,000 times within 10 years. So far, they've raised $500,000 for research, but their ultimate goal is to raise around $100 million.
This project allows scientists to create synthetic cells across the whole genome. Researchers can transform these cells to carry new traits that improve the plant's overall ability to grow and mature. One example might be the plants becoming self-sufficient and synthesize their own nutrients needed for growth. Another could be the ability to gain resistance to various diseases and chemicals.
An example trait for synthetic cells would be the ability of a specific plant to reuse or filter its own water. Just as scientists are trying to create lineage of ultra-safe human cells that have their own cancer genes deactivated and resistant to viruses, crops would have genes resistant to viruses. Plants could be self-sufficient and not require a fungicide by having genes that are resistant to viruses. CRISPR gene editing has its limitations, but with DNA synthesis, you can overcome CRISPR limitations by synthesizing whole genomes, although it is not financially feasible at the time. An example would be going from a fibrous root system in a grass crop to modifying the root system to a taproot.
Synthesizing DNA goes through 4 different steps inside of a DNA synthesizer. The first step is a detrylation step, and then it goes on to a coupling step to combine the base pairs, and then it goes on to an oxidation step, and then finally a capping step is the final step. Now, the processes within these steps are somewhat beyond the scope of this video, and it is merely a combination of sugars and organic compounds. With synthesizing whole genomes, we must consider the moral implications of changing genomes that have already existed. Now, there will be a large debate surrounding the use of synthesizing whole genomes for species. This will be a much larger debate than genetic engineering, I believe, because we will be moving so many different traits at once and completely morphing something into something it wasn't always.